Thanks for joining me for another video. We're looking today at horizontal translations of linear functions. So we had a video in general about transformations of functions and how we have a parent function. In this case, it's the linear function. The very simplest linear function here is f of x equals x, and that's our red line here, the red graph here. And the idea is to get from our parent function to a whole family of functions just through some simple transformations. And in this video here, we're starting with horizontal translations. What are horizontal translations? Well, they are rigid translations. And what I mean by rigid is there's no bending, there's no change in slope or shape, no change in orientation. We're just moving the entire graph either to the right or to the left, depending on the direction of our horizontal translation. And we do that really by looking at our horizontal variable, which is x. So when we do a translation, basically what we're doing is we're sort of looking at a transformation of our variable x. So if we, in this case, we are moving, say, from the red curve to the blue, we're moving right by an amount of 2, right? 1, 2. So we've moved this entire graph to the right by an amount of 2. So how do we do that? What we do is we go from x to x minus 2. Why minus 2? Because we're actually trying to make the x, our x, look like the x was 2 units before. That's what happens when we're moving horizontally to the right. If we want to move to the left, we will have to add 2, and we will do that in a moment. So what does that look like? It basically means that with our parent function, and I'm going to write that generally here because it's true for any function, not just for linear function. If we have f of x, we will transform that into f of x minus 2. What does that mean? Well, if we had, we can write a table, say, of x, f of x, and f of x minus 2, and I'll try to use the correct colors here. So if we have x equals 0, 1, 2, and we'll do -1 and -2, then our f of x, which is in red, right, is just 0. F of x is basically x. 0, 1, 2, -1, and -2. What happens to f of x minus 2? Well, f of x equals 0 minus 2 is just minus 2. When x is 1, we get minus 1. When x is 2, we get 0. When x is -1, we get -3, and -4 for x equals -2. So let's look at this on our graph. So first we're looking at 0 right here. Now we've transformed that to -2. Again, now let's take 1. 1 is here. We had f of x equals 1 is just 1. Now we take it to -2. We've gone down to -2. F of 2 was up here, which was 2 here. Go down to 2. So basically, we're getting the points on this blue curve. Now, what you can see is that what we've done really is moved this curve over by a factor of 2. How do you see that? Well, you can see that this point moved there. This point moved here, and so on. Officially, when we do a transformation, a horizontal translation, we're looking at shifting our x. However, as you can see from this graph, what's happening here is we can also look at this as a vertical translation. But we will look at vertical translations in a separate video so as not to be confused. But it's important already here to note that these two are somewhat equivalent. Now, what happens if we look at the opposite translation? If we look at the translation, f of x goes to f of x plus 2. Okay, what do we get here? So this will be our green curve here. So f for 0, we will get f of 0 plus 2, which is 2. For 1, it'll be 3. For 2, it'll be 4. For negative 1, again, we're going to negative 1 plus 2 here. So that's plus 1, positive 1. Negative 2 plus 2 here is 0. So if we look here, when we look at x equals 0, now we're at 2. X equals 1, we're at 3. That's 3. X equals 2, we go up to 4. And for the negatives here, for x equals negative 1, now we have 1. And for x equals negative 2, we have 0. So now we have this curve here. And you can see that what we've done is we've moved horizontally to the left. So that is a quick demonstration of how we perform horizontal translations of linear functions. The important thing to remember here, and I will capture that again, if we're going to move by an amount plus 2, meaning to the right, what we're actually going to do is we're going to do x minus 2. Okay? If we're going to go to negative 2, meaning we're going to try to move to the left, then we take our variable to be x plus 2. So that's important to remember, as it's a little bit contrary to our intuition. So I hope you'll join me for the video on vertical translations and the other transformations. If this was helpful, please like, and please join me for the next video.